Thank you. Glad to be here at Micromobility. So I'm Julien Chamussy. I'm the CEO of FLUCTUO. FLUCTUO is the company which is aggregating data on the shared mobility industry. We have been around for the last 3 years. We're based in Paris. We have recently raised 1.6 million to accelerate the growth of the company from 3 different corporate funds. And we have around 30 customers. We work with most of the shared mobility operators on the European market. We work with ShareNow, we work with DOT, with Voi, with Donkey Republic, with Felix. We also work with public transport companies like the SNCF and the Deutsche Bahn. We work with mass aggregators like FreeNow, like Kogo, and we also work with consulting firms and urban planning agencies. We have a product called CityDive. It's a business intelligence platforms that provides daily metrics and insights on the shared mobility industry in more than 110 European cities and counting. This data is being used by customers to discover new markets, to identify launch opportunities, to analyze vehicle demand and vehicle usage. So it's been very useful for the stakeholders of the shared mobility industry to understand the dynamic of this market. This data is available to our premium customers through subscription, but we also want to make this data available to a wider audience through an initiative that we launched last year in 2021. It is called the European Shared Mobility Index. It's a quarterly publication that provides metrics on 16 and now 20 cities, European cities. So we do this because we think that this data should be available to a wider audience. We want to share this data with public transport authorities. We want to share this data with local governments. We want to share this data with journalists, with investors. For us, the goal is to convince cities to welcome shared mobility operators. We want to convince them to build the infrastructure which is needed, like bike lanes, charging stations, and parking zones. We also want to convince funds and VCs to back the industry. So we started this initiative last year. So far we have released 4 editions of this index, and we are glad to see that it has become a reference on the market. The information that we provide through this index has been used by many newspapers and all across Europe. I think these journalists and these media were really looking for information about this young industry, a very bustling industry, so it is great for them to have this information available through a quarterly publication. We are now starting a new series of index for 2022. So today we are releasing the first installment of the 22 series. By the way, I would like to thank the partners which are supporting us in this initiative. So we work with Arval, we work with FreeNow, with Inverse, with ShareNow, and Waymo, and our institutional partner, Police Network. For this edition, we have added 4 new cities: Lisbon, Dublin, Copenhagen, and Munich. So right now we are monitoring 20 cities in Europe, and we have received many requests from cities that wanted to be featured, that wanted to be included in the index. So we for sure we're going to add more cities in the year 2022. Maybe, by the way, maybe we can add Amsterdam, which is quite an interesting city for shared mobility with shared moped services like Felix and Check, and shared car sharing services. As you know, there are no shared scooter available in Amsterdam so far. So today we're releasing the first installment, which is focused on Q1 2022, and we're going to release then in September, December, and March 2023. We're going to release the recap of the year 2022. So now we're going to dig a bit in the numbers. I'm not going to comment all the data and all the graphs which are available in this report. I invite you to download it and to read it for yourself. But we're going to share some of the highlights. So, as mentioned, we're monitoring 20 European cities, and there are around 310,000 shared vehicles available in these 20 cities. You can see that the top 3 cities are Paris, Berlin, and Milan. But then if you analyze the number of vehicles available per 10,000 inhabitants, the ranking is a bit different, with Milan, with Brussels, and Lisbon in the top 3. As regard so basically on these 300,000 vehicles, 44% of these vehicles are shared scooters, 26% of docked bikes, 13% are free-floating bikes, 12% of mopeds, and cars only account for 6%. The growth in the fleet during the last 12 months has mainly come from private shared mobility operators funded by VCs. So during the last 12 months, 56,000 shared scooters have been added, 28,000 free-floating bikes have been added, and 12,000 shared mopeds have been added in these 20 cities. On the contrary, the station-based bike-sharing services has remained mostly stable, maybe because these services are mostly publicly funded. As regards the ridership, we have seen a 40% increase from between Q1 2022 compared to Q1 2021. Again, the growth was mostly fueled by free-floating shared scooters and free-floating shared bikes. And maybe one of the reasons why you're seeing this significant growth is also that in 2022 there was no restrictions due to COVID-19, which was the case during the first quarter of 2021. I will comment very quickly on the bikes. Again, the dynamic on the bike sharing markets comes, at least for the first 3 months of the year, comes from free-floating bikes. We have seen 12,000 free-floating bikes added in the streets of these 20 cities, in Berlin, in Rome, in London. So clearly the dynamic is on the free-floating market. As regards the scooters, well, Berlin leads the pack with 25,000 scooters, but there have been a few movers and shakers in the ranking below. Brussels, for example, has welcomed many new operators during the last 12 months. Recently, Voi and Thiel launched in Brussels, whereas Oslo, for example, decided to cut back on the number of operators and to cap fleet size. We also expect many changes in 2022. There are some tenders, ongoing tenders. In Bordeaux, France, for example, there are right now 8 operators, but at the end of the tender process, there will be only 3 operators remaining. So we are expecting a solid growth as regards the ridership for scooter sharing services in 2022. Interesting thing is that the scooter operators have succeeded in surviving without tourists in 2020 and 2021. By taking care of local people, mostly by adapting the pricing, adapting their deployment strategy. Now tourists are back, so that's good for the industry, but we do hope that operators will be able to serve both local people and tourists in 2022 and beyond, because we do believe that these services are good for all the categories of users. I will go very quickly on mopeds. Again, if you want to get all the numbers, I invite you to download the report. But basically, no major changes in the moped industry, except that Barcelona, who was the #1 city in the ranking last year, has been dethroned, mainly because there was a fierce competition and some of the operators have left the market in Barcelona. As regards the car sharing, I'm not going to comment today because it's a micro-mobility event, but we do also have some interesting data on free-floating car sharing services all across Europe. In this report, we also try to focus on cities. So in each report, we have 4 cities on which we can focus. In this report, we have Copenhagen, Dublin, Lisbon, and Munich. Here you get some information about Lisbon, which is a very welcoming city for scooter operators due to good weather conditions and due to accommodating regulation. My last message is for you in this room, in this event. Maybe you know what this is. It's called Place. It's on Reddit. It's a collaborative project to build a piece of art pixel by pixel. And it's a good example of what we want to do with you. We want to build the big picture of shared mobility, pixel by pixel, vehicle by vehicle. So we are willing to hear your feedback on this initiative. We want to hear your suggestions. We want to collect more data about the market, and we want to have more news to share with the industry. So please join the movement, and maybe the first thing you can do is to download the report and share it with friends and colleagues. So you have a QR code here, or you can visit us at a booth. We have a booth 202. Please visit us, and we will be glad to give you a free copy of these reports. Thanks for your time.